Day 2 of Season of the Chosen is upon us, and what better way to spend Day 2 than going over all of the new Cabal themed seasonal weapons and doing a bit of a god roll guide on them. And surprisingly, Season of the Chosen has quite a lot of loot. I mean, we're going to be going over the Cabal theme stuff in today's video alone, but as future videos are released, I mean, we have a whole new Trials loot pool, we have a Nightfall weapon loot pool, we have a playlist loot pool, and even a reissued weapon loot pool. But I kind of all know how we feel about reissued weapons. With all that being said though, have no worries about the season whenever it comes to loot. I know that we all have a bit of PTSD from Season of the Hunt, you know, that season that had next to no loot whatsoever and literally only one weapon that was actually good. Season of the Chosen is definitely a very nice change of pace, and I feel like there's a lot of weapons that I can go out of my way and chase, and a lot of these weapons have really good perks on them, as you're going to be seeing in today's video, and this only scratches the surface of the stuff that you can chase in this season. But as you guys know, with these god roll guides, I like to go over all of the weapons in a specific weapon set, how to get said weapons, and I also format them in order of the most important to the least important weapons in the set. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in today's video, and let's talk about first the extraordinary Rendition, and extraordinary it is indeed. Oh my god! This is a legendary kinetic submachine gun, aggressive frame, and you're going to be able to get this from the new Battleground seasonal activity, and I'm pretty sure if you went ahead and started this season, it's a guaranteed drop whenever you first do your first Battleground. But if you do want to focus it, you'll get it from Battlegrounds. You can also focus it in the Umbral engrams. To unlock the focusing for this engram, you do have to get a certain amount of SMG kills though. Now, taking a look at the random rolls, this thing right here, it's pretty freaking nasty. In the first perk slot, we have the likes of Subsistence, Overflow, Surplus, Zen Moment, Outlaw, and Firmly Planted. In the second slot, we have Multi-Kill Clip, Thresh, Tap the Trigger, Rampage, Frenzy, and One for All. Now, I don't know why you would ever go for a PvP roll on this weapon, because personally, I don't like SMGs in PvP, but you can do something like Zen Moment and Tap the Trigger. Now, let's get to the interesting part, which is the PvE roll. Overflow and Surplus in the first slot are gonna be your best friends, okay? Surplus is gonna give you handling, reload speed, and stability for every charged ability that you have. Overflow is basically, if you pick up special or heavy ammo, it's gonna give you a ton of magazine size. So the combos on this weapon that you could do is definitely something like Overflow Rampage, Overflow Frenzy, and Overflow One for All, and you could literally do the exact same thing with Surplus, but you could include Multi-Kill Clip, so Surplus Multi-Kill Clip, Surplus Rampage, Surplus Frenzy, and Surplus One for All. Now, if you guys don't know how some of these perks work, of course, Rampage is basically a flat damage boost based on the kills that you get. Multi-Kill Clip is you get a bunch of kills, reload, and then you get a damage boost. One for All is basically if you just tap a few enemies, you'll then get a damage buff after you tap like a total of 3 of them. And the damage buff, if I'm not mistaken, is better than Rampage, so try to go for One for All if you can. But the new perk called Frenzy is actually a damage increase, handling increase, and reload increase if you are in combat. And to my understanding, it's around a 30% damage increase for your weapon, and it's pretty good. You basically get in combat, you shoot at enemies, you get shot at. This goes on for about 10 seconds, and then it procs the perk, and you're basically given handling, reload, and damage for the entirety of the time that you were in a fight. I mean, you don't even need to kill anything to get this thing to pop off. So this is absolutely nasty in things like raids. The first thing that comes to my mind is like the third encounter and the Deepstone Crypt, where there's just a ton of chaos and you're basically gonna have this thing up all the time. So Frenzy is a completely new perk. I'm sure there'll be some people in the community that kind of break down the math and really found out how truly useful this perk is, but on a surface level, it sounds really good, and from what I've seen from other people, it definitely looks like a pretty good pick. Me personally, my weapon has Surplus One for All, but I'm chasing Overflow One for All personally. Now, moving on over from the Rendition, we have the Brass Attacks. Now, this right here comes from the Season Pass, level 45, I believe it is. Let me go ahead and check. Yeah, so Brass Attacks comes from level 45 in the Season Pass, and it is a one-of-a-kind sidearm. It is an aggressive burst sidearm, so it's a 2-burst, just like the Breach Light from Season of the Dawn, and it's actually an energy sidearm, so it's actually dealing void damage. Now, taking a look at the random rolls, we have the likes of Feeding Frenzy, Killing Wind, Slideways, Surplus, Rapid Hit, and Threat Detector. We also have One for All, Wellspring, Sympathetic Arsenal, Rampage, Dragonfly, and Frenzy. So the first things that come to mind for me in the first slot, Rapid Hit could be pretty decent, but for me personally, I'd probably go for Feeding Frenzy or Surplus. And then for the second slot, One for All is always a really good damage buff. Rampage is really good. Wellspring if that's your thing, but I personally wouldn't go for that. Dragonfly is decent, and then you also have Frenzy. So for me, if I was chasing this weapon, I would go for either Surplus or Feeding Frenzy, and Rampage or One for All. This thing right here, if we know anything about aggressive burst sidearms, is that they're pretty damn useful. They are pretty freaking good, and I really want to get my hands on this weapon and get a good roll on it. You get it first from the Season Pass, and you can also farm it from the Battlegrounds and from the Umbral Engrams. Now, moving on from the brass attacks, we have a very interesting pick, the code Duello? I think that's how you say it. I'm not gonna claim to be smarty pants, but this right here is a high impact frame rocket launcher. Now, what makes this rocket launcher special? Well, let's take a look at the first slot. We have Impulse Amplifier. Now, that's the first perk. It basically says massively increases projectile velocity and increases reload speed. This to me just screams a PvP perk. That way you can get your rockets as fast as possible to hit your enemies and kill them. But Impulse Amplifier, you have Quick Draw, Field Prep, Surplus, and Auto Loading Holster. For the second slot, you have Chain Reaction, Lasting Impression. Rockets attach on impact and detonate after a delay, and it increases your blast radius and your damage. We also have Unrelenting, Cluster Bombs, Frenzy, and Ambitious Assassin. Now, the role that I have on this weapon is Auto Loading Holster, Lasting Impression. This thing right here is very, very fun. Lasting Impression gives you a pretty decent damage increase. I could definitely see if Bungie were to bring back the tripod perk from Destiny 1 so that rockets could have 3 at a time in a magazine, where you could just shoot 3 rockets and then have Lasting Impression so each rocket sticks to the enemy and explodes with huge damage afterwards. It's a pretty cool perk. So Auto-Loading Holster, Lasting Impression, I really like those. If you're a PvP guy, maybe something like Impulse Amplifier or Quick Draw in the first slot, and then maybe something like Unrelenting. I mean, you know, that might work for you. But yeah, I like this weapon. I think it's cool. It's like a very fun one. Code Duello. The new perk just makes it very enjoyable. I got it on mine. I've really liked it. I've been using a lot of rockets recently because of the seasonal challenges, and I kind of fell in love with this one. So definitely go for those rolls if you can. Now, moving on from that, we have the Far Future Sniper Rifle. Now, this thing right here is an adaptive frame energy sniper. It is solar, and it's okay. You know, it's okay. I like it. I think it's okay. But the perks are kind of where it falls down a little bit. Going to the perks, we have stuff like Surplus, Quick Draw, Moving Target, Slide Shot, Auto Loading, and Lead from Gold. And in the second slot, we have Wellspring, Demolitionist, Thresh, Multi-Kill Clip, Opening Shot, and Frenzy. Now, my first impression on this weapon is that it's not really going to be used much for PvE. Normally for PvE, you're looking for something like Triple Tap. This really doesn't have it. It has stuff like Lead from Gold and Surplus, which, I mean, they're decent. Auto Loading, maybe. And then you also have things like Multi-Kill Clip, in Wellspring and stuff, maybe Frenzy, but I don't ever really use snipers to clear just regular weak ads or anything, so yeah, I don't think this is a really good PvE sniper. Now for PvP, it's got some potential. You could go for something like Quick Draw or Surplus in the first slot, and then Opening Shot in the second slot. Now Surplus is going to give you that handling, reload speed, and stability, which is also nice. Quick Draw, of course, is just going to let you be able to pull it out faster, and you won't have to worry about keeping a charged ability. And of course, Opening Shot's going to give you a lot of aim assist on those headshots. So I think the scope for this weapon's pretty nice. I'd say that it's probably very much better in PvP. I don't know how many people are going to be using it in PvP, but I would say that's kind of where it belongs, if anywhere. Now, moving on from here, we have the Imperial Needle Combat Bow. This is an energy void bow, and I don't think we have a void bow outside of Le Monarch in the game currently, so that's kind of where this comes in to sort of fill that spot. Taking a look at the random rolls, we have Quick Draw, Impulse Amplifier, which we saw on the rocket launch earlier, Killing Wind, Sneak Bow, Hip Fire, and Archer's Tempo. And in the second slot, we see stuff like Thresh, Wellspring, Swash, Opening Shot, Sympathetic, and Frenzy. So what would I go for on this bow? Something like Archer's Tempo Swash or Archer's Tempo Frenzy. That's pretty much all I could see this bow being used for. I'd say its only use is pretty much going to come from the actual element that it has. And the the last weapon that we have in this weapon set is the Threaded Needle Linear Fusion Rifle. Now, the reason it is last on the list is because linear fusions, they need a buff, man. These are heavy weapons, and in my opinion, I honestly think that linear fusions should be special weapons, but this thing is gonna use heavy ammo, okay? And when you have a weapon that uses heavy ammo, you want it to be really good. You know what I mean? Taking a look at the actual like magazines or the batteries that you can have, you have stuff like accelerated coils at the top, as well as liquid coils in the middle. So if you want a little bit of damage or a little bit of charge time, you know, those are the two that you're really looking for. In the first slot, we have Killing Wind, Clown Cartridge, Rapid Hit, Auto Loading, Rangefinder, and Field Prep. And in the second slot, we have Demolitionist, Thresh, Dragonfly, Multi-Kill Clip, Vorpal, and Frenzy. So for me, maybe Rapid Hit Vorpal, Auto Loading Vorpal, either one of those. Clown Cartridge, maybe. You know, Multi-Kill Clip is also kind of a fun one if you're killing a bunch of ads, but then again, this is a heavy weapon and you can just kill ads with an Ikelos SMG and a Warmind cell, so I don't know why you would do that. Frenzy on this weapon, it is a longer ranged weapon, so I don't know how good Frenzy would be on it, but this one's just kind of a toss-up for me. It's a linear fusion. These desperately need buffs, and I don't know why Bungie is making more of these while they are also very, very weak at the current point in time. I do think the weapon looks really cool though, but I do hope that Bungie does something with linear fusions because this weapon looks badass and I would absolutely love a reason to use it. But guys, that is it for this video and all of the Cabal themed weapons that have come with this season. These 6 weapons that are Cabal themed, I think they're all really good. Obviously, the SMG and the sidearm are definitely very, very good standout picks. The bow and arrow is very good because of the element. The Far Future Sniper Rifle seems like a decent pick for PvP. The code Duello seems like a really fun rocket launcher because of the new perk, and Threaded Needle has potential if Bungie does go and buff linear fusions. But guys, that is it for this video. Let me know what you guys think of these weapons in the comments down below. Personally, I'm a very, very big fan of them. While I still have you guys here, if you guys haven't followed me on Twitter, feel free to follow me over there. I tweet stuff like this every single day. Okay, maybe not every single day, but you know, occasionally, and I'd love to have you guys over there. I talk about a bunch of stuff Destiny related and non-Destiny related, and it would be cool to get to know you. But guys, that is it for me. Let me know what you all thought in the comments down below of this video, and I'll see you all next time.